A delightful day to each and everyone, especially to our dearest professor, Dr. Cindy B. Rusil. Under her class, Educ 103, Human Behavior and Administrative Processes in Organization. We are the first group to share a report about fundamentals of human behavior. Through our report, we may understand and comprehend the following: nature and scope, concepts and principles, reasons and methods of studying human behavior. They say people are the most rational beings in this world, but the most complex to understand. Sometimes the most commonly reason for understanding people is understanding their behavior. What is human behavior? Human behavior is the potential and expressed capacity, mentally, physically, and socially, of human individuals in groups to respond to internal and external stimuli throughout their life. While specific traits of one's personality, temperament, and genetics may be more consistent, other behaviors change as one moves between life stages. Example, from birth through adolescence, adulthood, and for example, parenthood and retirement. Nature of Human Behavior by Father Pascual Salas, OSM. Any act of individual person which is considered human behavior is a reflection of his thoughts, feelings, and emotions. It mirrors his needs, values, motivation, inspiration, conflicts, and states of life. Behavior, therefore, consists of all human activities. Refers to the range of behaviors exhibited by humans and which are influenced by culture, attitudes, emotions, values, ethics, authority, rapport, hypnosis, persuasion, coercion, and genetics. The behavior of humans and other organisms or even mechanisms falls within a range with some behavior being common, some unusual, some acceptable, and some outside acceptable limits. Scope of human behavior. Human behavior is studied by the specialized academic disciplines of psychiatry, psychology, social work, sociology, economics, and anthropology. Human behavior is experienced throughout an individual's entire lifetime. It includes the way they act based on different factors such as genetics, social norms, core faith, and attitude. Genetics behavior is impacted by certain traits each individual has. Social norms also impact behavior due to the inherently conformist nature of human society in general. Humans are pressurized into following certain rules and display certain behaviors in society, which conditions the way people behave. Core faith can be perceived through the religion and philosophy of that individual. Attitude can be defined as the degree to which the person has a favorable and unfavorable evaluation of the behavior in question. Concepts and principles of human behavior. Concepts of human behavior. In spite of all human beings being different and unique, there are considerable amount of common aspects in all human beings. On the basis of these common aspects, psychologists have developed some important concepts or ideas about human behavior which most of them share. These concepts provide a better perspective to managers to understand human nature. Human beings are biological creatures. Influenced greatly by their biological makeup, our biological makeup has a great influence on our lives. Although our biology set limits on our behavior, still we can influence our biological makeup to a certain extent. For example, by exercising regularly, we can build strong muscles. Though our intelligence to a great extent may be hereditary, yet stimulating home environment can considerably influence it. Thus, our biology does not rigidly control and guide our behavior, it only sets broad limits. Every person is different, yet much the same. Although human beings are unique creatures, still every human being is unique and different from others in terms of hereditary and other characteristics. This is also found in the case of twins, who may have the same hereditary, but yet in many psychological traits they are different. As human beings, we all have the capacity to think, feel, and remember, etc., though different in intensity. Due to these similarities among individuals, psychologists have been able to develop certain laws and theories about human nature. Culture, ethnic identity, gender identity helps to understand people. Culture molds our values, beliefs, likes, dislikes, etc. It has powerful influence on human lives and their behavior. It shapes our personalities to a certain extent. Human lives are a continuous process. Human lives are always in the process of changes. The change occurs through different stages of our lives, and it continues till we die. Changes are not only physical changes, but also our mental changes in the area of our feelings, our understanding, and emotions. Change occurring are most of the times either due to a change in biographical makeup, like age, or due to our experiences, which we encounter in different stages of our lives. Behavior is motivated mainly by two important factors such as internal and external factors. Basic motives such as hunger, pain, disease, etc. are common in all human beings, although their intensity differs. However, individuals differ with respect to how they satisfy these motives. Motives guide, control, and influence our behavior to a very great extent. People play active part in creating their experience. Human beings have the potential to create their own environment and experiences to satisfy their own needs and desires. Thus, they do not accept an environment passively, negatively. They play active role in determining what kind of experiences they will have, and they seek out particular situations that will help them to achieve certain experiences of their choices. Principle of human behavior. Human behavior can be identified as a result of attempts to satisfy certain needs. These needs can be simple and easy to understand, such as the need of food, water, and shelter. However, it can also be complex, such as the need of respect or acceptance. By examining human behavior, we can expand the knowledge we need to better understand people. Human behavior study help us understand why people act and react in certain ways. As a leader, in order to accomplish your goals, you need to interact with your followers, peers, seniors, and others whose support you need to accomplish the goals. To gain their support, you must be able to understand and motivate them. Human nature is the common qualities of all human beings. People behave according to certain principles of human nature. Leadership and human behavior work hand in hand. To be a successful leader, you must have understand your people and work with them to resolve their problems. Maslow's hierarchy of needs. Basic needs are physiological, such as food, water, and sleep, and psychological, such as affection, security, and self-esteem. Meta needs. This includes justice, goodness, beauty, order, unity, etc. Basic needs normally take priority over these meta needs. A need higher in the hierarchy will become a motive of behavior as long as the needs below it have been satisfied. Unsatisfied lower needs will dominate unsatisfied higher needs and must be satisfied before the person can climb up the hierarchy. Communication is the basic human interaction. It is a process and it is dynamic, ongoing, and ever-changing. It may not have a beginning or an end. Communication can be divided into two categories. Interpersonal communication is between people, and intrapersonal communication is your own self-dialogue. Language plays an important role in the way we perceive the world. It is also affects the way people behave around each other. It does not just label and distinguish the environment for us, but also structures and guides out thinking patterns. It influences our relationship with others and with the environment. 5 reasons for studying human behavior. Number 1. Appreciate development through life. When we think of human development, it's easy to think of it as a process that is largely complete once we hit early adulthood. It is important to realize, however, that development is an ongoing process that continues all throughout life. As you enter adulthood, navigate middle age, and face the onset of old age, having a greater understanding on how people continue to grow and change as they get older can help you appreciate and manage all the stages of your life. Number 2. Better understand yourself. It can also help you learn more about your future. By understanding the aging process, you'll be better prepared when you face issues associated with growing older. It may also help you address end-of-life concerns, cultivate supportive relationships, make healthier choices, plan for your future needs. Number 3. Learn more about your children. Parents can benefit from learning more about how kids develop. A lot happens in the years from infancy to adulthood, so it's important to understand what happens at each stage of life. By learning more about how kids grow, parents can help their kids grow in healthy ways and address challenges that might arise. In addition to learning things that can help make you a better parent, you can gain greater insight into how your children behave, think, learn, and feel. Development is a complex process, so learning more about how kids grow physically, socially, emotionally, and cognitively can lead to a deeper understanding of kids of all ages. Number 4. Learn to interact with kids. If you plan on having children or working with them at some point, studying human development can greatly improve your ability to interact with kids. Some factors to consider when interacting with kids include communicating in ways that are age appropriate, encouraging appropriate play, helping children express and understand emotions, reinforcing positive behaviors. Once you better understand the stages of development and what makes kids tick, you will feel more comfortable talking, playing, and working with them. This is particularly important if you plan on working with children. And lastly, number 5, learn to spot problems. Another important reason to study development is that you can gain a greater understanding of what's normal. While every person is a little bit different, human development tends to follow a remarkably predictable pattern. Once you have studied development, you'll know what's typical at certain ages and stages. Perhaps, most importantly, studying human development makes it easier to spot possible signs of trouble, from problems with cognitive, social, or emotional development in early childhood to struggles later in life. Being able to identify potential problems is important. The earlier developmental problems are detected, the sooner intervention can begin. No matter what the situation, early detection and treatment can lead to better outcomes. Methods of studying human behavior. Some of the important methods of studying human behavior as formulated by psychologists are as follows. 1. Introspection method. 2. Observation method. 3. Experimental method. 4. Clinical method or case history method. 5. Survey method. 6. Genetic method. And 7. Testing method. Introspection method. This method was introduced by E.B. Titchener. This is also known as self-observation method. Introspection means to look within. It is not possible to understand the inner feelings and experiences of others person, but the individual himself can observe and report. Example, a patient can report about his pains and other disturbances in a better way than by a nurse. He will look within himself and explain how he is feeling. This will help for a better treatment. Though introspection is a useful method, it has some demerits also. There are A. We cannot verify the reports by giving the observer, hence we have to accept his report. At times, even if he is reporting correctly, there may be distortions. B. This method cannot be used to study children, animals, and persons suffering from mental disorders, but this is a cheap and easy method. Observation method. This method is very useful in the areas where experiments cannot be conducted. In this method, the observer will observe and collect the data. Example, in the hospital, the nurse will make observation of patient's temperature, pulse, BP, facial expressions, and etc. This method is very useful to study the children, mentally ill animals, and unconscious patients. At times, the observer will go to the natural settings, situations, etc. in order to get the objective data. Because in natural setting, the person being observed will not be aware that he is being observed. His behavior will be natural or original. Hence, this method is also known as naturalistic observation or objective observation method. Experimental method. This is the most objective way of studying the behavior. In this method, experiments are conducted in the laboratories under controlled conditions. In experiments, usually the effect of independent variable on the dependent variable is studied. Hence, there will be two variables, independent and dependent variable. Examples: the effect of music on the level of blood pressure can be studied in laboratory settings. Here, the music is independent variable and the BP is dependent variable. All other sounds other than music are extraneous variables that are to be controlled, so that the effect of only music can be assessed. Similarly, the effect of different drugs, food, etc. can also be studied. Clinical method or case history method. This method is used very commonly in hospitals and also in educational settings. In hospitals, when a patient is admitted, the nurse can collect the detailed information pertaining to the disease of the patient. The information includes the past history of the disease, treatment taken already, changes in any like improvement, present condition, probable causes, signs and symptoms, etc. This information may be obtained from the patient, his close relatives like parents, siblings, or others who accompany him, or from his friends, neighbors, etc. Survey method. This is used to gather the information from large number of people. Questionnaires, checklists, rating scales, and inventories are used to collect the required information. This method is usually used to gather information about political opinion, customers' preferences, etc. It may also to be used to know the information pertaining to medical professions, like awareness about disease and remedial programs, malnutrition, opinions about health needs, health facilities available, etc. Genetic method. This method is also called as developmental method. Most of our behaviors are the result of earlier experiences. In some cases, when we need to understand some behavior, we need to know their developmental aspects also. For example, in order to understand the behavior of adults, we need to know their childhood development. This can be done by two ways. A. Cross-sectional study, in which the children of different age groups will be studied simultaneously. B. Longitudinal study, in which the same individual will be studied in different stages of life. This is more useful methods to understand the behavior, some points of view of hereditary and environmental influences. Testing method. Different tests are developed by psychologists to study various aspects of behavior. The attitudes, interests, abilities, intelligence, adjustments, personality, and such other factors which influence behavior can be studied by administering the suitable test. Here are your beautiful Group 1 reporters. Teacher Maria Camille T. Osorio, Teacher Sheila May D. Lavinia, and Teacher Marife B. Mawanag, leaving you all with a quote: "How often you impress people when you have nothing, and how often you oppress them when you have everything, is what define your real character." Israel Moore Avior. Thank you very much for watching. God bless us all.